Good morning, Soraya.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Trying to figure out my volume here. So,
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Max. Hey, Max. Good morning. Well, how things going at in Davis? Hey,
you know,
Max.
it's same old, same old. I guess you see us on the news all the time. Our most
well,
recent our most
well, I
recent
thought
was
I thought maybe a few things might have changed, but I guess not, huh?
our most recent was a Polynesian kid wore a skirt to an elementary and he got made fun of. So that was on the news.
Oh, you guys hit the news again, then, huh?
Yeah, but the school reacted good, so it was a good thing. But our
Yeah.
Navajo teacher works at that school, and she went in her regalia and talked about how, our men wear long hair, and she told them about all that. And she's like, we can't always just judge on, appearances when it comes to culture. So it was good.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it's a universal, hopefully, because some of those people from the Middle East, I don't know what that's called.
The hijab.
Yeah, they use that, and like the traditional Hawaiians and the Pacific Islanders, they
Yeah, they
use
wear
that.
the skirts.
Right. So I'm not so sure they call it skirts, but they something it's I think
Yeah, it's like a tapaha or tapa.
yeah,
I
something like that.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, and I think our American Indians they kind of bounce around sometimes, but when they get kind of uh, really a special occasion,
uh-huh.
they'll like with the Navajos, they'll tie up their hair and to put it into
Yeah,
a bun, and they bring out their jewelry and all that
yeah.
stuff. I'm pretty sure that the Pueblos do the same thing.
I was gonna show you something that I was gonna talk about today. I hope it's okay. It's San Geronimo Day.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna talk about that a little bit about Taos. So I hope that's okay.
oh yeah, yeah. That's I think we know very little of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing
Very
I
little.
wanted to show. I don't know a whole bunch, but I wanted to show what I know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Morning, Brenda.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
So far, so good.
we're alive.
It's Friday.
Yep.
You know that session that they had the other day with the Navajo tribe
Yeah.
at Brady? Boy, I mean, he really put on a good presentation, and
Oh, yeah, that
it
was a
was
really good one.
a lot of information, man. You know, he took us around the world into
Yeah,
space
that
and
was
brought
a
us
good
back.
presentation.
Yeah, he's very, very versed in that stuff. And the thing I liked about that was that almost all the conversation was in Navajo.
Hmm.
You know, not very many times that you find that opportunity to hear a whole conference setting in Navajo. So
Yeah. You should join each month. Well, they don't have, they used to have professional development each month, but I know they have a new superintendent, and I'm trying to think, it's something Martin, Dr. Martin. I don't know his first name, but when they do have professional development, it's usually like that. So I'll start sending you their flyers.
yeah, they had one from Monument Valley High School, Kienta.
Yeah.
I think they have that annually, and it's I think probably 80, 90%, 95% of that uh, conferences all in Navajo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
nice to go to those every once in a while.
Oh yeah, clearing out the cobwebs, man.
Hear the language and hear the stories, in your own language. And what I like about Mr. Brady is he goes back and forth with Navajo and English. So
Yeah.
like his participants that don't really speak the language well can still get something out of his presentation.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's really interesting that they're all clan connected relatives and through the clan. From those observers from Shanto
Oh yeah.
and Kaibito, it's all the way across to New Mexico.
Yeah.
One way or another, everybody was related through the clan, man.
I know, we're all related and connected somehow. And
Yeah.
Facebook helps. I mean, keeps the world smaller, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, well, we should be having a few people come on pretty soon. So, well, Max, how you doing in the greater city of where you guys at?
We're in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Wow, man,
It's like 70 degrees.
Oh man, that's. Did you guys go down to the what's that place called when you go downtown to that
French Quarter?
Yeah, French Quarters.
Yeah, I went down, saw a couple of bands play, which was, right up my interest.
Oh yeah, yeah. You pick up a few sounds and moves. I know, man. Yeah, I hear you. Yep, I hear you. Well, today, as soon as Renee comes on, she'll put up the agenda, and I'm just gonna review the agenda to determine which way and how we're gonna proceed. And I think everybody basically knows, and then we'll get into the professional development and the rest of the program. So that should be good. Oh, Renee, there you are. Hey, Renee, could you put up the agenda for today?
Absolutely.
Well, Max, you have another full day, and you guys are heading back tomorrow. Is that right, or is it today?
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, that's a long
Yeah.
week for you guys.
At least we have Monday off.
Well, there's honeydews waiting for you at home now.
Yeah. But if anybody shows up on Monday, they're in trouble.
Yeah. I see Amanda. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Well, how's the Uinta Basin?
It was cold the other day, but it seems like it's warmed up. On my way home, it was snowing. I was like going 30 miles an hour because I couldn't see. It was just coming down, and
Wow.
then I got home and I told my husband it's snowing a lot, and
Yeah.
then I left my house probably about an hour later to go give my father-in-law his dinner, and
Yeah.
the snow was melted. It was completely gone. So as fast
Wow.
as it came, it was gone just as fast. So,
Man.
but other than that, it's good. I was hopping on to let you know that I won't be able to stay for the whole meeting, and I'll
Okay.
probably reach out to you next week to get an idea on the certificates and everything. like that.
If you could email myself or Renee, so we're on the same page here.
Okay.
And then the other one is with the tribal consultation.
Mhm.
Are you guys gonna do your own out there with your tribe? Like
Yeah,
I think you
well,
guys did that last year too.
yeah, we've done it. We've done it in the past years with the education department,
Yeah.
with the education director, which she would still be the person to
Right.
okay the plan.
Yeah, I think if you could invite Melissa too
Okay. Yeah,
during that
Melissa,
consultation,
we've
and
kind of
yeah,
quiet
I
side.
did. Yeah, I did send two forms. One form is it's just documentation purposes.
Okay.
You know, for some, they sent that along with the application, the formula application back to DC, and some of them don't, but you know, keep that for your records. And the other one is the plan that we have.
Okay.
And you might want just kind of review that because we've gone and updated that last year. So
Okay.
we're still on track with that. And so those are the two. And then the number C is the food request. I'm doing a food request, and it seems like it's really positive right now. Um, I'm just sending it up. I'm sending this information, a request up the line. So Max was my first level, and it goes to the next level, and actually ends up in the deputy superintendent's office. So I think that's where it's at right now.
And
Um,
is the food request for the
for you guys to buy food for your celebration or for your
okay?
reward recognition ceremonies.
And that'll be in addition to the extra money that the districts get to do this, right?
Yeah, this is the money that's coming from the Utah grants.
Okay.
That's the one I'm referring to. Now, you guys have another set of finances coming from the application grant. That's a different story
Okay.
because that's a federal, and oftentimes federal don't allow to do that.
Okay. Well, that'll work. Well, thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate you
yeah,
trying to get us some food because we need parents there, and that's how we
yeah.
get
We
there.
do. I think that's just a cultural gesture.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing for us. So if you leave before that, at least you have that number 6 that um, and you can you know what happened there. So
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it, Dr. Foster.
okay, well, it's 9 o'clock, people. We have a full agenda, and I welcome everybody today to this meeting. And I think everybody basically knows each other. We had an addition to our list from the Navajo tribe who was assigned to the Title VI programs and some of the things that they like to know and they like to see from our Title VI program. It's Derek Franklin. I don't know if he's on. If not, he
Yes,
is
I
a
am.
representative. Are you on, Derek?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, could you just a small introduction and then we'll get into the cultural reverence.
Hagushi. Yad A. Arnold Swanand Ani Danothinigi. She Yad Derek Franklin Inshia. Kia Anin Slon na Kaidanabashichin. Twitch E. the A. Dashe Nana Oge E. Dashanala. Akut out an Enslim. Bahas Ataisi Ada Nasha. Do Adashiaho A. Shina Nishigi A. Ya Office of President and Vice President for the Navajo Nation. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to introduce myself. Again, my name is Derek Franklin, currently from Twin Lakes, New Mexico, and now work for the Office of the President and Vice President. I used to work for the Department of Denied Education here in Window Rock for the Navajo Nation, but I transitioned to assist the President of the Navajo Nation. So thank you very much. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Derek. We'll get on to we have the agenda. I'm going to walk through that real quick here. We're going to have a cultural reverence by Sierra from the Davis School District. And after that, we'll have Dustin Jensen, Mara Patero as a presenter, Sheila and Jenna as presenters. And we're going to get down into the updates with the Title VI programs. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Tribal Consultation requests, that if you like to have the certificates and folders sent to you. And I did say a little bit a while ago that I asked for a request to purchase food during our celebrations. And number 7 and number 8 is the Urban Indian Center updates, as well as the Ethnic Studies updates. Then we'll adjourn for today, and the next meeting is not until March 18th, and hopefully that's not during anybody's spring break. If it is, please let me know. So we'll get with Sierra. Let's turn some time over to you with the cultural reverence.
Let me unmute myself first. So I wanted to introduce myself a little bit about my background and where I'm from. I am Navajo, about a little less than a quarter. I originally from Taos, New Mexico, and my backyard actually was the reservation. It was the start of the reservation, so we were right there. I am a Hispanic, white, and Native person, so I get to represent all 3 cultures. I come from a large family of 11. I'm number 8, so I'm one of the younger ones. Graduated from BYU with a degree in human development with the early childhood emphasis, and now I'm currently getting my master's in elementary ed. So, and I have 4 kids, married, live in Layton. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, like I said, I'm Navajo, and I have a little bit of Yaqui Indian and Taos Pueblo in me. But I wanted to share a little bit about Taos Pueblo because that's where I grew up, basically. So I'm just going to show some pictures. This is the Taos Mountain. This is the sacred mountain to our Taos Pueblo people. If you look over here, you can't really see it really good in the pictures, but they usually call that the Skull Mountain because it kind of looks like a skull. But that's how you recognize the Taos Mountain, and it is the sacred mountain for our native people in Taos Pueblo. And a little bit background of the history. Here's a little bit of the Taos Pueblo. It was it's one of the oldest pueblos. It's one of the only stacked dwelling adobe pueblo type. They say it was originally there from 1000 AD to 1400 AD. So they don't know the exact date of when it started, but it's been there for over 1,000 years. And people still go there, and that's handed down from generation to generation. They have to be a registered member to keep one of the houses in the Pueblo. So it's been there for a long time, and very, very, they use it for powwows, for honoring, for ceremonies and all kinds of other stuff. So it's still there. It's very historical, and it's I think it's one of the greatest Pueblos. And I'm not biased at all, so. Part of their great tradition is, or their origin story, is this lake. It's called the Blue Lake. Their origin says that this is where the tribe emerged from. So it's a very sacred lake. It was taken away from them, from the government, in the 1800s, and then they fought for it back, and they received it back because it's very sacred to them in 1970 under Nixon. So they returned that to them, and it's very sacred. They go up there. Only registered members are allowed up there, and they go to pray and do ceremonies and stuff like that. So it's a very sacred place for them. And growing up, I wasn't a registered member of the Taos Pueblo at all. I'm more Navajo than I am anything else. But we were able to join in on some of the ceremonies. And I wanted to tell you about one of those, the ones that like stuck in my mind. And it is the one about San Jeronimo. This is a basic picture of the celebration of San Jeronimo. You see the clowns and the crowds and the Pueblo. And up here, that's a 75-foot pole, and then they have, it's greased and has 4 objects hanging, red, white, yellow, and black, which represent the sacred elements for our Pueblo people. So usually they have sheep and, you know, stuff for the families of the clowns that that reached the top of the pole. But San Jeronimo was the patron saint of the Pueblo. They do are Catholic and Native combined religion in their Pueblo. So they do a lot of both Catholicism and their Native religion. So the clowns are called kusharis, and they basically, they're called clowns, and they go and taunt people. They make fun of themselves and make fun of the people that are there. So, I mean, growing up, we were always afraid of these kosharis because they would come and grab you. And if they got you, they'd put you in the river and wash your face in the river. And they did this mostly to the younger children. But our Pueblo people think of it as a blessing. When the clowns get their children, their kids are traumatized, and we were scared out of our minds, but it was a blessing to the people to get that. So on San Jeronimo Day, they would do their foot races early in the morning and run to the sun, you know. So they would be barefoot, and, you know, they'd invite other people around the community. It's one of their open ceremonies. Lots of their ceremonies are closed ceremonies. So they would invite on this San Jeronimo for people to attend. So people would watch the foot races, and then they would go around, and then the clowns would just be around all afternoon. And then during almost at nighttime, they would come and climb the pole. So if you got caught by the clowns, they'd wash you or whatever. And then at a certain time, they'd try to climb the pole, and it was greased, and they're barefooted, and they're trying to climb up these poles. And the first one that climbed up the pole got all the stuff, and they were able to take it and share with their family or share with whoever they wanted. But it was a very sacred thing for them. Just growing up with this was very, you know, I loved going to our celebrations like this, and it was an ingrained part of our community of doing this. I also remember in the middle of like June, we would go to sleep and we'd hear the sound of the drums for their powwow. They have a powwow that is well attended as well. And just going to sleep with the sound of the drums was very peaceful. So it makes me homesick even just talking about that. But I am grateful for the opportunity I had to learn about the Taos Pueblo tribe, even though I only have like this much of me in Taos Pueblo. But it is my hometown, and it is my people, my best friends, and my relatives. So that's just a little bit about me. I wanted to teach you the one word that I know in Tewa, and it is thank you, which is ta'a. So ta'a for your time, and ta'a for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thanks, Sarah. That's great. That was very, very enlightening. I'm pretty sure that all the other tribes, they do have something in common in terms of the celebrations, you know, the blessing of the children, and even the word thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. You know, I apologize to Max. I forgot to introduce Max also. Max, I see you on their screen. Could you introduce yourself? Max is my supervisor, my former supervisor. She retired a couple, 3 weeks ago, and now Max is my intermediate supervisor. So Max, you want to kind of introduce yourself? And after that, I see that Dustin is also on. He's and we'll put him on right after. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Foster. It's my great pleasure to be here. It's really an honor to be in this meeting with you. I previously worked in school improvement at the Utah State Board of Education, and now I'm back at home in Title I and related federal programs and related state initiatives. And let's be clear, we all take supervision from Dr. Foster. Nobody supervises him. Thanks for letting me be here.
Thanks, Max. That's funny. You forgot where you come from. Tell them where your background, where you come from.
I was born in Roosevelt. So my family has a farm in Utah, just outside of Duchesne. So that's my background and that's my history. Planting crops and herding sheep.
Yeah. Well, he sounds like one of us. So hey, thank you. Thank you, Max. We have Dustin. Dustin, are you on? We'll give you the floor now, and we'll give you the professional development piece for us. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
No, we still can't hear you, man. Dustin.
Dusty's from my neck of the woods.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Could you see my screen before when I tried to share it?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I actually grew up with Derek Franklin, right, Derek?
That is correct.
We are. He graduated with my older brother, and then my older sister graduated with his little brother, and then I went to kindergarten all the way till I finished high school with his cousin Kenny Tom.
That's
So
right.
it's funny to think that I'm 47 years old and I've known somebody 40 years. It's good to hear your voice, Derek. I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you.
So I went to elementary school in Twin Lakes Elementary, where Derek's from, and we were the Eagles. And I don't remember if there was any water in any of those lakes at that time, but they called it Twin Lakes. So I was going to share a little bit today just about kinship, and I thought this would be important. Oh, first of all, let me do some announcements real quick. Next week, on February 23rd, we're having our legislative caucus. It's going to be virtual, and hopefully enough information was sent out to everyone that would like to attend. If you just want to log on and hear priorities from the different tribes, legislative priorities from the different tribes, they'll be there. There is a bill that's on the governor's desk right now relating to traditional regalia for high school graduations and how that's been okayed. So long as the governor signs it, it passed the House and the Senate, so it should be there, and it should be. I didn't hear any problems associated with it, so that should be going up. But there will.
Dustin,
Yes.
would that happen before graduation this year? Because we have lots of parents asking.
It depends on what I'd need to look at the effective date. Sometimes the effective dates don't kick in until July, but we'll
Okay.
check on that.
Thanks.
And yeah, and on that note, if you've emailed me for some assistance, I will get back to you. We're really busy right now, but I will get back to you on things and try to make things easier for everyone and try to help out as much as we can as an office there. Then on the 24th, we have the Utah Tribal Leaders meeting, and that's also going to be virtual. Both of these events are virtual this year, just at request of the tribes. When we had that really big uptick in the Omicron variant, a lot of the tribes just said, "Hey, until we understand what's going on, let's go virtual just to be safe." And so we're glad to honor that and to make sure that we can make things work this way. This is professional development. And and a lot of times I'll share different things with you all. I'll share different statutes, different laws, different legislation that's going through, or just history as it relates to Indian education and things like that. But I wanted to share a little more about just information that will help you understand your students a bit better. And I thought of kinship. I thought of kinship here and the idea of relationships with one another. And I wanted to make sure that we all understood what that meant. And I'm really happy when I sit here and I listen to people introduce themselves and you introduce yourselves by where your family is, where you're from, if you're Navajo, what clans you are, and just to establish those relationships that we have with one another. And so I wanted, I think as educators, sometimes your students will probably say, "That's my mom." And it may not really be their mom, okay? It may be their aunt. It may be someone who has the role of mom. If you really look at things, Native people extend kinship pretty far out. It's not just immediate family and those connections. It can go pretty far out. So I'm gonna share with you a case that came up during a period of what we call allotment and assimilation in the federal government. So, if everyone could mute, I'd appreciate that. So during allotment and assimilation, there's no really set dates on this. We're estimating that it took place between 1871 and 1928. We just talked about, when does this legislation go into effect, right? Although a day might be set when it's in effect, the actual practice of the legislation doesn't go into effect. It kind of just blends in and slowly bleeds in, and then when one era or policy ends, it kind of bleeds out and fades away. But this period is a time when the federal government is really trying to expand its powers over Indian affairs. Okay, so just prior to this, prior to 1871, right, from 1860 to 1865, the United States is in a civil war. And so a lot of the soldiers that they had stationed in forts out west, there weren't a lot of soldiers there at all. There were a lot of the soldiers were pulled in to fight in the Civil War, or those forts were just abandoned altogether. And so there had been reservations implemented just prior to this, and there were laws saying tribes could not leave their reservation, or non-Indians could not enter reservations. And so and then there were a lot of tribes that were still trying to enter into treaties or negotiation with the United States to form treaties and to mark geographical boundaries. But there was a couple goals here at this time. After the Civil War, the United States wanted to expand west. They wanted to connect the East Coast to the West Coast. In Utah, we have that. We have the big celebration about the railroad and the Golden Spike and things like that, connecting the East and the West. But to actually make it out west, people moving out west needed to feel safe in what they did, right? That was the argument. So they wanted to establish towns along the way. You can you needed to, you could only load so much in your wagon when you were going west, right? You needed to replenish your supplies. You needed to buy more ammo, more flour, repair wagon wheels, repair axles, maybe replace a horse, replace an ox or something like that, just to get across. And so they were trying to move west, but the land in between the east and west coast was occupied, right, by native people. And so the federal government started forming reservations. And when reservations didn't seem to open up those ways, the government went into a thing called allotment, where they went into different areas and surveyed off 160-acre plots, designated families to each of those plots. And whichever land was left over, they sold that land off. It was called surplus land. And that surplus land was used to start communities, non-Indian communities, and along these trails connecting the east to the west. But it was also there to end tribalism, right? This idea of how tribes govern themselves, the idea of the processes and policies that were internal, and how tribes governed themselves, regulated their own social rules, and how they resolve disputes. And so this is a big deal now, because now the federal government is going to start taking action, right, during this time to be a little more controlling.
You're muted, Dustin.
Oh, how about now?
You're good.
I'm good now?
Yep.
All right. So what we lead into is this case. We have a case called Oh, I spelled it wrong. I almost put partier. There should be no R. I'm going to blame that on spell check. It should be ex parte Crow Dog. All right. This is a continuation of that federal control and assimilation. All right. So I'm sure some of you have heard the name Crow Dog before, and a lot of you may have even heard about this case. This took place in 1863, I believe. And what's going on here is because so many of the soldiers at the forts were fighting in the Civil War, the government actually deputized a lot of tribal members to be Indian police, right, in different reservations. And you're right, they had badges, they had guns, and the idea was that we'll have Indians patrol their own areas, their own tribes, and enforce laws there on their own, since we don't have non-Indians to do it. They're all fighting in the war. But this caused some conflict within a lot of traditional communities, because there was in traditional communities, people's authority and people's standing within a tribe really depended on a lot of their accomplishments they had throughout their life. And so a lot of the older people, the more traditional people, were understandably in deep with their own traditions and ways of doing things. And a lot of the younger men were asked to be tribal police. And as tribal police, that gave them some authority to exercise and to regulate people they normally would not do, right? These young men now had badges and sidearms, and they were regulating their elders, their council members, their chiefs, and letting them know what was the law and what was against the law. And it created a lot of contention between members of the same tribe. And Crow Dog, he and a tribal cop named Spotted Tail did not get along. Crow Dog was a traditionalist, and Spotted Tail was a tribal policeman, and they did not get along. Word has it that they exchanged words with each other. Maybe did a shoulder check when they passed each other in the street or something. I don't know. But one day they got into it. They got into it hard. They got into it so much that Crow Dog ends up killing Spotted Tail. And so the matter is taken back to the tribal council. And the tribal council sits him down, and they go over the facts, they go over the evidence, and what they decide to do is assert a punishment and fine against Crow Dog as a tribal council. His punishment was and fine was one, he had to give a certain amount of horses to Spotted Tail's family. He had to give a certain amount of blankets to Spotted Tail's family. He had to, in fact, take care of Spotted Tail's family from that point forward, because this family had lost their provider, and by the hands of Crow Dog, and so the not wanting anyone to suffer or to go to carry out the rest of their lives and in need, right? As Spotted Tail had children, then Crow Dog became responsible for them because he took Spotted Tail's life, and that was it. That was done. And the Indian Affairs agent, was like, well, I guess that's how they do it. But the Indian Affairs agent's wife was not very happy about that. When you kill somebody, you should be hung or you should go to prison, and so they went and took this to court, took Crow Dog to court, and Crow Dog had an attorney, a representative that helped him, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Crow Dog at that point. And they said a lot of things. One of the things, the part of the reasoning that they held here is what I listed here on this slide. They looked at the treaty between the tribe and the federal government, and it was clear that the treaty supported self-government. And that, they were different. And the court wanted that acknowledged, that Indians were a different race. They had different traditions. They used a lot of weird language, like different instincts. And so they were able to handle the matter on their own. And any laws that the federal government could exercise, or were limited to people that were strangers to the area, or when it says alien, were not from this area, trying to put themselves on the reservation, which was against the law also. And so they said, no, these guys are different. The tribes are different. That's why the treaty says this. This is why we let them handle their own business. They carry it out. Everyone seems to be okay with what's going on here, except the non-Indians, right? And besides, if we subjected tribes to our laws, they'd be subject to something that was unknown to them, right? An unknown external code is what the court said. And they weren't aware that this was going to happen. So if we put Crow Dog under the same laws as non-Indians, as U.S. citizens, we didn't tell him that was going to happen. There'd be no warning for that. Right. And then they also said that if we did this to tribes, they'd be judged by a standard made by others. They had no say in our laws. They had no say on what was appropriate and what should be done. And so we can't actually subject tribes to laws that they had no say in. And look, if we did this, we'd probably have a jury trial. If we didn't have a jury trial, in the very least, we'd have a judge. And it certainly wouldn't be by their peers, right? Their peers are the other Native people within their community. And the only ones that we'd put on this jury would be non-Indians. And even right now, allow, going through this court system where we have Crow Dog going through here and being appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, he doesn't have a complete understanding of what's going on here, right? This is a legal process that his people don't practice, right? So he has an imperfect conception of what's happening. And for these reasons, the Supreme Court said, no, we this is settled. The Tribal Council settled this. They handled their business. They're a sovereign nation. They have the ability to make their laws and be ruled by them. But if you don't like it, then Congress needs to change it. And Congress did, in fact, change it after this. They enacted something called the Major Crimes Act, which I didn't make a slide for, but the Major Crimes Act says that they identified seven crimes, 7 big crimes that if committed by an Indian in Indian country, the Tribal Council couldn't handle it. It would have to go to the federal courts. But that came after the Crow Dog case. Okay. But I just have a couple questions. I'll throw it out there. Let me see if I can get back here. Why do you think the Tribal Council handled the Crow Dog case the way it did? Do we have any ideas out there?
Dustin, I have a comment on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the, we're even today maybe, but during that time, there were 2 cultures.
Mm-hmm.
You have the eyes of the U.S. government eyes, then you have the eyes of the American Indian and their laws. Within the American Indian people and their society, they approach and try to sustain life to put that person back on track, as opposed to the Western, is that when you commit a crime, they put you away, throw the bars around you, and so on and so forth. So you have 2 lifestyles, 2 ways of approaches. With the American Indian, I believe that they didn't know the other part of that law, where the United States would put, they put bars around you. So their lifestyle and their approaches to life, their approaches to crimes, our approach of what they knew around them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know any other law. And for them, that was if you commit a crime and you have to work for that family, man, for some it'd be tough. But see, I think I believe that there were two sets of approaches and 2 sets of laws here. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the Tribal Council with that way back when, is that's all they knew, was that this is the way we do things and we know no other way.
So
I think I agree with Dr. Foster. Like, I think a lot of our tribal leaders back in the day had their own ways of addressing certain conflicts within their tribe. And so whatever was practice or common practice during that time, I think that was how the law was handled. But it's interesting to read about it and the approach that they took.
Yeah. Are people okay? Are you all okay with how the Tribal Council handled this?
Well, just like Chuck said, he wasn't excused from his responsibility. In fact, it probably took a lot more toll on him to, stand up for those family also.
Yeah. It's a safe place. Is there any? So please speak your mind. Is anybody? Are there any? Is there anyone out there who feels like, well, maybe maybe he should have gone to jail. Maybe he should have been hung.
No, I have a comment. This is
Okay.
Clara. I know that among many tribes, the tribal people would settle disagreements through what you're going to talk about, right? Meaning in a peaceful solution, peaceful way. And I know as a kid or a child when I was growing up, that's the approach my grandparents, my mother took. They always used to say, if you do something wrong to someone, you always need to talk it out and meet about it and come to some agreement, and there should be that restitution if you harm someone or stole something that wasn't yours. It should always be settled through peaceful familial meaning, so that those relationships stay intact and they're not harmed, and then we could go on to the next day and be settled that way. So I think that's where you're going to go with this, right? Kinship.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
we can talk about these things too, where every tribe has their own way of doing things, right? I'm not going to say that we're all the same, but generally there's this idea that's going around in comments about restitution or restoration versus punishment, right?
Right.
There's this idea that it's better to restore a situation, to put it back to where it used to be, than it is to actually punish people. And in on the Navajo Nation, there's actually a legal process of doing this, right? And we have in the Navajo Nation, we have the district courts that are set up that are very adversarial. But anybody, at least in civil matters, any party can let a judge know when they're in court, said, "Hey, I'd like to settle this through peacemaking." And and every chapter throughout the Navajo Nation has peacemakers that where the parties come together and they just talk it out. No lawyers, no judge. You're just talking it out and trying to resolve the issue. Even the Navajo Nation government itself, when it was restructured into this 24 council system, when they were coming up with the different legislative committees that would go there, they needed a committee to even set up this restructuring, and they called it Nabakiat, which is really talking it out. And that committee of the whole was so important that that committee ended up being part of this new structure in tribal government. And so talking it out is a really big deal among Native people. And just an example of that is that just what I shared with you with the Navajo Nation. Now, I recognize that there's more than Navajos in Utah. So I'm going to share something with you.
Dusty, can I add something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
This is Derek. In at least, I believe, well, in my tribe, the Navajo Nation, it is part of our culture for due process.
Mm-hmm.
Due process is written in our belief or how we handle things. So that's kind of what you're basically talking about, is the right for due process. That's what I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dusty, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Maybe I missed it. I apologize if I did, but I'm very intrigued by this story. So you gave us the legislative outcome, the Supreme Court outcome. What happened to the family, and did he take care of them, and for how long, like the rest of his life? I mean, what was the social outcome of this story?
So I don't have exactly the information exactly what happened with Crow Dog and his obligations to Spotted Tail, but when I spoke to some Lakota leaders afterwards, when I was in law school and just with other people, his obligation would have been to the family until she remarried, or until he, for the rest of her life. That would have been the obligation. So I'm going to share something from a book. It's called Water Lily. It was written by Ella Cara Deloria. I recommend this book to everyone. Ella Deloria, she was actually I think she's the aunt or to Vine Deloria and Sam Deloria and all those guys that wrote all the big books during the American Indian movement on tribal justice. But she herself, she was a PE teacher at Haskell Indian School. But she was fluent in the Dakota language, right? She was Dakota herself. And she was approached by an anthropologist out of Chicago that said, "Hey, but she was approached at a time when Native populations were going down, and people were really nervous that there were not going to be any more Native people in the U.S. anymore. So she was approached by this anthropologist that said, "Hey, I was looking for a fluent Dakota speaker. I was referred to you. I have a lot of questions I'd like you to ask Dakota elders and Dakota peoples, because I want to preserve their culture, their language, their history. Would you be willing to do that?" So she said, "Sure." And so she went out into into Dakota communities when she wasn't teaching, and she would just ask simple questions, beginning with, "What's the earliest thing that you remember? Tell me about your life. How did you get married? What's the process for getting married? What's the process for divorce? What do you do when children are born? What do she was just trying to ask all these just everyday questions to get as much information as she could to thoroughly document Dakota lifeways. And she got really into it, being a Dakota woman herself. And then at the very end of all of this, she ended up with thousands of papers of research, and she went back to the anthropologist and said, "Here, this is what I got." And he was like, "I'm too old now." Though that's yours. Do something good with it. And so the name of the book is right here on my slide, Water Lily, Ella Cara Deloria. And she decided, well, maybe I can make an encyclopedia for Dakota people, or a language dictionary for Dakota people. And she started doing that, but in the meantime, she ended up writing a fictional story called Water Lily. And in this little novel, she writes about a young woman's journey through life, and this young woman's experiences, and all these experiences are based on all the interviews and research that she did. And so it's a really cool book. Just skip the introduction and start on chapter 1, but it's a really cool book. And one of the things that we learn here in the Dakota culture, they have something called kinship appeal. And I'll be fast, Chuck. Chuck warned me not to take more than an hour, because he said, what happens when you give a Navajo a microphone? They just keep talking. So I'll be fast, but I want to share this story with you. And the setting of this story is these two families are visiting one another. They're just sitting in a lodge and talking about things. And they're talking about these two families within the village that do not get along. And one of the guys from a family killed a guy from another family, and so the other family took revenge and killed him, and then it just kept going back and forth. And there's little kids like, when does this stop? when does these honor revenges end? And so I'm going to share a little bit of this, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy it enough where you go out and buy the book. I'm not on commission, so they're not my sponsor or anything, but I want you guys to hear this. And so these are old people talking to young kids about these revenge killings happening back and forth. And so they're talking about the recent killings. He says, "The reason for the recent killing was understandable in a way, yet nobody could say it was a worthy one. The village harlot, nicknamed Everywhere, had promised faithfully to marry two different men, Red Lake and Cedar. When she finally married Red Lake, Cedar was so angry that he swore to get them both. But he had killed only the husband. The woman was still in hiding somewhere. And so, having killed his rival, he then swore to kill Everywhere too. Then a woman in the lodge says, 'I hope he finds her soon,' the woman of the teepee murmured viciously. 'It is her kind that brings trouble to good men and women and set a wrong example for our girls.' Water Lily was thinking of Nightwalker, a comparable character back home, who was the object of derision and despair of women. 'Well, so Red Lake is dead, and all because of a brazen woman,' the father remarked. To this, Yankton asked in surprise, 'Why, my friend, have you not heard the rest? Cedar, too, is now dead. A cousin of Red Lake has slain him in reprisal. It happened late today. I supposed everyone knew. That is even worse, the father said. Ah, well, at least it is all over. The score has been quickly evened up. Cedar had it coming for killing a man, whatever the provocation. It is never great enough to justify Dakota's taking the life of a fellow Dakota, since he cannot return what he has taken. He can only exchange his own for it, and that Cedar has now done. Yankton agreed. Indeed so, it is now cleared, as they have decided at the council teepee. Nobody spoke for a while, too amazed at the enormity of the thing to comment further. And then the man of the teepee sighed, a long, deep sigh, began filling his pipe with tobacco and its blend, yet curiously from habit, without watching what he was doing. Only his hands were concerned. His mind was on far off things. Looking straight ahead, he soliloquized thus: "So it is all settled and done with. Let it be. It is enough. Now 2 lives have been destroyed, the one for the other. Let us forget the nasty business and try again. It ought never to have happened among men of the universal kinship of humans. Let us have peace once more." Sometime during the evening the boy Redleaf had returned, entering obtrusively, and had settled down back in by his understanding mother, and she, seemingly unaware of his arrival, had nevertheless slipped some food before him, and then let him be. There, comfortable in the protecting shadow she cast, he ate quietly. Mothers had a way with their adolescent boys that was just right. They never drew attention to them or embarrassed them in any way. When Redleaf had finished, he maneuvered himself toward the men's group, and was listening there back of his father. At last he spoke up. "Yes, but will it ever end there?" A puzzled look was on his face. "What if now a cousin of Cedar were to kill the cousin of Red Lake? And what if a kinsman of the cousin of Red Lake were to kill the cousin of Cedar? What I mean is, since everyone has kinsmen to avenge them, they could continue killing each other back and forth until everyone was dead." "Oh, son, what a dreadful thing to say," his mother pretended to be greatly horrified. "But there is some truth to what the boy says," Yankton spoke up. "Of course, it likely would never get entirely out of hand. Fortunately, there are always bound to be mild-tempered men, poor haters, who can never get angry enough to kill. We could rely on them to stop it at some point, but a chain of killings that, at least for some time, is not impossible. No doubt it was to prevent such a thing that our forefathers devised the ordeals for trying murderers in ancient times. Thereby they put the matter up to the Great Spirit for judgment. And since humans may not dispute the wankan or the holy, the result of the ordeal was accepted as final." The 2 men recalled the kinds of ordeals, one in which the guilty man was called on to ride a wild horse without falling off, and one in which he had to jump high hurdles without knocking them down. Either form was used at magistrate's discretion. It was not a trial to determine if the man was actually guilty. That was already admitted and generally known. Rather, it was a judgment on him. If he was intended to die, if he failed the ordeal, if he was meant to live, he miraculously survived it. "My friend, there is still that other way to deal with murder and to deal with murderers, which to my mind is the noblest of all, because it brings the best results," Yankton remarked. "I wonder if you are familiar with the kinship appeal?" "Well, yes, I am, though I have never witnessed it. I have heard of those who speak of it with high respect," the father answered. "But tell the children here, I think our people have never devised anything loftier than that." So Yankton described how he once saw the kinship appeal used to settle a score. The enraged young relatives of the slain man debated the kind of punishment they ought to mete out to the slayer, who was still at large. As they debated, their eldest relative, a man of great influence in the entire tribe, sat listening as though in accord with them. After they had all talked themselves out, he began to speak. With consummate skill, he gave them the impression that he was going to go along with them all the way. He said, "My kindred, cousins, brothers, and sons, and nephews all, today we have made to weep without shame, men though we are. Someone has dared to do us an injury in slaying our young relative. he not thereby grossly insulted our family pride and our honor? Our kinsman was young. He too loved life. He was not ready to die, yet he is dead. Should we now vow that his slayer too shall die? And should we not go out forthwith and kill him? Very well then, why do we sit talking here? Why not give the murderer his due at once? He smoked quietly after this, calm and steady. In due time he resumed speaking, but now he had changed his tack. And yet, he repeated it, and yet, my kindred, there is a better way, that the fire of hate may not burn on in his heart or in ours. We shall take the better way. Go now to your homes, look over your possessions, and bring here the thing you most prize, a horse, say, or weapons, or wearing apparel, or a blanket. Easy ways and empty words may do for others. We are men of another make, so let us take the harder way, the better way. If but few are able to do that, then let us be of that few. The gifts you bring shall go to the murderer, for a token of our sincerity and our purpose. Though he has hurt us, we shall make him something to us, a relative, in place of the one who is not here. Was the dead your brother? Then this man shall be your brother, or your uncle, or your cousin. As for me, the dead was my nephew. Therefore this slayer shall be my nephew. And from now on, he shall be one of us. We shall regard him as though he were our dead kinsman returned to us. Yankton and his host smoked a while. Then he said, my friend, that was a tremendous proposal, would you not say? Indeed it was, his host agreed. And what assurance of leadership that kinsman must have had to dare suggest such a thing. For it required of each man to undergo inner battle within himself and to master his pride and anger first. That is not easy. I take it they all did so. Yes, they accepted what their elder kinsman said, because they knew he was right. They saw it was easy enough to fight violence with violence. Killing was the work of a moment, but to make the murderer a relative after what he had done, and to live in sincerity and creative goodwill with him, day in and day out to the end of life, that was something else. You may well imagine how proud must have been the spirit of the slain youth to see his relatives doing the harder thing. Now on the appointed day the slayer was brought to the council teepee. He was brave. He did not try to run away. He knew he had killed the man, and he was ready to pay with his life. Even so, not knowing his exact fate, he entered with his eyes averted, steeling himself for the worst. He did not try to infer the decision from the councilmen's faces. He did not want them to pity him. He would not have men say, suppose him to be afraid. Poor fellow, like some hunted animal, he tried to detect mercy in men's eyes. He did not want that. The spokesman said, offering him the peace pipe, smoke with these new kinsmen seated here, for they have chosen to take you to themselves in place of one who is not here. Hearing these words, the man was visibly unnerved, and he began to tremble. It is their desire that henceforth you shall go in and out among them without fear. By these presents, which they have brought here before you, they would have you know that whatever love and compassion they had for him is now yours forever. As he said these words, tears began to course down the slayer's cheeks. You see, he had been neatly trapped by loving kinship. And you may be sure that he proved himself an even better kinsman than many who had right of birth, because the price of his redemption had come so high. Then Yankton added, I know this well. I was one of the youngest and most enraged cousins of the slain man. But I learned then that there is no more powerful agent for ensuring goodwill and smothering the flame of hate than the kinship of humans. And as you know it, this man became the best uncle, the best cousin, the best nephew, and the best grandson in that village. I really enjoy this story, this idea of resolving such a tragic issue at hand, right? And a young person was killed. People wanted to kill him back, right? But instead, they gathered all their best things, gave it to him, and said, "You're replacing the man you killed. You can always walk among us. You don't have to have fear when we're around." The book later goes on to say that he did everything he was supposed to do as a relative to this family that he was adopted into. And I think that's just an amazing demonstration of what can happen with kinship. Because when you believe and when you accept that we're all related, you treat each other different. You don't go out of your way to hurt your brothers and sisters. You don't hurt your mother and father, your aunts, your uncles, your parents, your grandparents. When we know that we're related, we treat each other different. Yeah, I have a Dakota friend out of Canada, and he talks about the process of making relatives, of bringing someone into your family, even though they're really of no blood relation at all. And so, but that person being accepted in and fulfilling that role as a relative. I've seen that with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is Dakota, and she'll do that. She'll adopt people into her family and let them know that, we have that obligation to each other now, that family obligation to one another. We help one another. We listen to one another. We take care of one another. And I have a Dakota friend. His name is Jarrett Medicine Elk, and he's a tall man. If you've ever seen gosh, the Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, there's these trees they call ents that they're really tall trees that talk and walk. He looks like an ent. He has that look. But I introduced him to my mom a long time ago, and one day I was just driving, and he just came across my mind, and so I decided to give him a call, and I was just, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he just started crying on the phone. He goes, "Hey, how did you know to call me? I'm going through some hard times." We talked for a while, and afterwards I called my mom, and I said, "Oh, I just got the phone with Jarrett. He's having a hard time." And my mom goes to me, "Call him back and tell him to come here." He lives in Montana. He goes, tell my Sioux son that he can live with me. Tell him he has a room here at my house. Tell him we can take care of him down here." And it was really touching for me to hear that from my mom, and she meant it. Tell him there's a place for him here at my house. And so I called him back and I let him know, and he just the gratitude of that invitation was just so powerful for him, and it just it reinforces, like I said, the true value of kinship, of knowing that we're related to one another and that we should take care of each other. And I wanted to share that with you guys today and leave that with you, and hopefully as a reminder of who we are and who our students are, and what we're trying to preserve here, and who we're trying to help. It is our responsibility to help one another. It is our responsibility to look after one another. And I hope that helps you, and I hope this helps you understand the students you work with, the communities you work with a little better, and that you approach them in that way, right? Approach them like a relative, and your words will change, your tact will change, your attitude will change, the language, how the tone in your emails will change, the tone in your phone calls will change. And I just wanted to leave that with you, and let you know that it's something that I cherish in my life as part of my culture. I'm cherished what I've married into, into a Lakota Dakota family, and it's been good for me. And so I'll stop there. It's 10:02, Chuck. I made it, and and I'll turn that time over.
We can give you another hour. How's that?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks. Thanks, Dustin. I think that's a very, very profound story. And the book, I think I'm going to have my assistant to research this information, try to get the book and give it out before school lets out this year. It's living in two worlds, the cultures, the approaches are different, but we all end up in the same place. I guess basically after this world. So appreciate that, Dustin, and providing some good information for us and something to think about. Now we also have Mario. I think I saw you on the screen. Mario is from the Granite School District, and I'll have Mario introduce himself and his presentation today. And again, thanks. Okay, Mario. We can't hear you, Mario.
All right, how about now?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Well, yes, ja, het is not Anisha Mario Plateronsia. Het Anisla. Het Anibashichin. Ashi Dashanella. Last Eja Edashiche. A quit out the name Sle. My name is Mario Platero. My parents are Leo and Mary Platero. Some of you may know them. They were longtime educators in Montezuma Creek, Utah. And I guess I'm continuing the tradition of education and followed in their path. I am a former school counselor and currently am the CTE coordinator and career center coordinator here at Granger High School. We have about 3,500 students here at the school, and probably 70 to 80% of our students here are minority, coming from all over the world. So it's a beautiful place to work. A lot of beautiful cultures here. In regards to American Indians, we have probably it usually ranges between 70 and 90 students each school year of self-identified students who say they're Native American. It's hard to pin them down because the school is so big, and we do have a Native American club here, but it's small in numbers right now, so we're trying to, each year we try to increase those numbers. I graduated from Whitehorse High School. If anybody from San Juan County, go Whitehorse Raiders. It's a nice small 1A school. I love growing up in that area, and I call that home. And my family's more from New Mexico area, Chechitka, and also the Beyaja Habitin, or they call that Borrego Pass. That's where my father comes from. Today, my presentation falls in line with my responsibilities here in the school district. Even though I'm housed here at Granger High School, I am a program manager to 3 programs in the district: the agricultural program, welding program, and woodworking program. And I get to go out and work with teachers and support them and help them in their programs. I do have a PowerPoint here I'd like to share. So I guess I press share content, is that right? And
yep, that's it.
Is that it?
Yes, we could see it.
Okay. So am I in presentation mode or am I, here we go. Does that look good now? Okay. So this is something I'm very passionate about, that I've learned about. A lot of you, I'm sure, in education have heard about CTE. That stands for Career and Technical Education. I just got a short video here I'd like to show you. And let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Can everybody see the video okay?
Yeah, we can see it, but we don't receive the sound or the noise or.
No. Okay. I don't know how to share the sound.
Okay,
Well,
Renee, do you know how to help them out a little bit?
Well, it looks like he's got the sound on though. The little sound thing does not have the line through it.
Still no sound?
Yeah, we can't hear anything.
Okay. So it's okay. I can I'll send Chuck the link and we can send that. It's just an introduction to CTE.
Okay.
Basically, it will introduce to you in a nice presentation, kind of what I'm going to share today anyway. So, all right. So if I close this, am I back to? There we go. Okay. So as we go along, you'll hear me reference some of these terms here. These are something that I think all educators should know about. These key terms are college and career readiness. You'll hear the word career clusters, career pathways, a pathway completer, pathway concentrator, a work-based learning specialist, U-Science, something new there, and the acronym CTSOs. And we'll get to that slide and let you know what that is. So why do we have CTE? The name itself tells us that it's to help us prepare for our careers and also learn about technical education. CTE, we sometimes think of shop classes. That's the first thing we think about. Your welding, automotive, but it also includes photography and business and food and nutrition, health sciences, all kinds of careers and classes that are offered in the schools. I think one of the sad things is that CTE, when it comes to graduation credits, they only require 1 credit to graduate. I wish they would require at least at minimum 1.5, if not more. Because what that means is that a student then chooses these classes to help them build a resume, build some skills, some knowledge. But if you think about CTE classes, they're all basically a hands-on approach. The biggest benefit, and organizations, that's CTSOs, I'll talk about that in another slide, but the biggest benefit that I've seen as an educator is that CTE classes really can aid in dropout prevention. There's countless stories of students who don't do well academically, but find that the hands-on approach is something that they gravitate to, and it's actually what brings them to school. I got to go to my welding class, or I got to go, to my entrepreneurship class because I have a business idea. And so statistically, those who take CTE classes and focus on those areas, their graduation rate jumps about 10%. And right now, statewide in the state of Utah, those who pursue CTE pathways, their graduation rate is around 93%. That's a pretty high percentage. And so if we can steer kids to CTE type classes, which also includes obviously post-secondary, higher institutions, they have these programs as well. Then kids are more, I think, comfortable in attending college after high school. And of course, we know that college is not for everybody. I don't know what your statistics are in your area, but it seems that at least 30% of our students graduating class, they do go to college. And then what about the 70%? They obviously choose to go to work or the military, or maybe they'll do trade school, maybe an apprenticeship. These are other options that students have after high school. And if you work with students, you'll agree, I hope, that they're a little different now than it used to be. They're very inquisitive. They want to know, why do I have to do this? What's the purpose of it? And not until they find something that they're passionate about, then they'll pursue something, of their interests. And so kids nowadays are asking why. Another big reason why why we have CTE, it's great for jobs. We do try to teach kids in high school to learn a new skill. That way they're at least employable after they graduate. And what I'm finding in industry is that industry is now they're not just saying, well, I need these academic requirements. You know what? They just want people to show up on time and and be willing to work. That's really the two criteria now that a lot of industry people are saying. We'll take it from here. We'll teach them, we'll train them, and which is a good approach because they're building their own out in industry. So CTE works closely with post-secondary institutions and also industry. And we have advisory boards where we meet together and we discuss the job trend, the needs of industry, and try to implement anything that would help students pursue these careers. And so it helps with job placement and real world skills. That's kind of a given. And one of the things also is it helps students avoid large school loans. I think the trend sometimes is kids are pushed to college. They can't pay for it exactly with scholarships and grants. They still have some balance left over, so they get the school loans. They go to college and find out how difficult it is and what a different culture college is, And so they may feel like they're not ready or prepared. And so a lot of kids do drop out after their first year of college. And oftentimes with a large school loan that they have to start paying off now 1 year out of college. Was that not on the right slide? Okay. So if you remember, some of you may remember this, that CTE used to be called vocational and technical education. Home economics. Home economics was a word we heard a lot, but now that's replaced with family and consumer science. VICA, which stood for Vocational Industrial Clubs of America, is now replaced with Skills USA. So some of these new terms are happening within CTE that's what we used to know, but they've updated them in our day. So what's the criteria for schools to add CTE classes? Here at Granger High School, we probably have over 60 classes that are all considered CTE classes. The criteria is that it needs to meet a high wage demand or a high wage. There needs to be a high demand out in the industry, out in the job world, and that some of the classes offer a high skilled base environment so that they're not working with outdated machinery, tools, software. And so they want kids to have these skills now moving forward. Some of the new CTE classes in the last 10 years, cybersecurity, that's something that's a very important career nowadays. We didn't have that 10 years ago. Unmanned aerial vehicle, the quick short name of that is drones. Drones is going to be a new career path now. and also video game development. And I think kids, just looking at that name alone, gravitate to it, but it's actually a lot of work. You're talking about programming, you're talking about storyboards, and there's really no time for kids to play games. They're creating their 3D animations, making them move, and all kinds of cool things, and that requires a lot of technical skill. So what I'm basically saying is that hopefully your school districts are trying to keep up with the trends that are happening out in industry, out of the job market. I'm just going to mention this by name only. There's a national career cluster list here that we categorize all the jobs that exist into one of these categories. And so it's important for all of us to become familiar with them, and so that we know how to guide our students in the future. You'd be surprised that, you think a kid's doesn't have any interest in anything, but they're passionate about something, and we just need to find that and pull that out of them. What are career pathways? So this was another one of those key terms I talked about. Career pathways are a set of classes that provide an introduction to more advanced pathway for students. It could be in culinary arts. It could be in a health science career. It could be in agriculture, natural resources. A lot of these classes fit into a career pathway. And so in the state of Utah, there are 35 career pathways that align with the national cluster. We also have partnerships with post-secondary, as I mentioned before, and advisory boards, which also includes industry. So we just had one yesterday with Salt Lake Community College, Pipe Welders Union, and SME, which is another industry. And we're talking about welding and how can we improve and recruit kids to pursue that process. Welding's taken on a whole new meaning. It's no longer just stick welding where you're just in a booth and you're learning how to run a bead. Now it includes programming, it includes CNC work, it includes MIG and TIG and all kinds of cool terms that they use in welding. And so it's not dirty and dusty like it used to be. It's very clean now and precise, and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that is used to manufacture parts and create items. So I want to click on this website here on the right side, Utah State Board of Education. If you go to schools.utah.gov/CTE, this is a great place to learn more about what they have to offer. Just got to make sure, can you guys see this screen okay?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So here's their homepage. And I like this slide right here because it shows us that how many students are enrolled in CTE classes. This is statewide. This is not current, obviously. This is last year's data. But you can see, okay, graduation rate's gone up. 96% graduation rate for students who are CTE concentrators. And I'll talk about concentrators and completers here shortly, compared to the state of 88% graduation rate. 45% of students who concentrate in CTE pathway, or they concentrate in a pathway. 16% are considered completers. Okay, so here's where I'll share this information. In a pathway, let's just use automotive. And to make it simple, we'll say Auto 1, Auto 2, Auto 3, beginning, intermediate, and advanced. If a student wants to earn a career pathway certificate, then they would take all 3 classes, and it would equal up to 3 credits. So that's a specific pathway, the automotive pathway. And so if a student earns 3 credits, they're considered a completer. If a student takes 1 Explorer course in CTE then they're considered a concentrator. They're considering this career option, or they have an interest in it. But a completer is someone who takes the time to schedule a pathway into their schedule, which then makes them more marketable once they leave. It builds a resume as they move on to post-secondary institutions, apply for graduation and scholarships. And so completers are considered students who are focused and ready to take on the next challenge. And so I invite you to look up this website, and there's a lot of cool information here. As we go here to this hamburger, and I pull down career pathways, this is where you can get all of the 35 different pathways that are available. And you can see that in the bold blue, it says career cluster. And then underneath that, in black text, is a career pathway. So if we go to, let's just pick another one, let's just say computer science and information technology. This would be a term that's recognized nationally because it is a cluster. Underneath that, there are 4 different pathways that a student can complete. So let's look at cybersecurity. This is an interesting page. You know, I realize that I probably see this on a day-to-day basis, but for you, it may look very complicated. But it just kind of highlights, if you want to pursue cybersecurity, this is the pathway that you should follow from the junior high to middle school level, high school, and high school areas. Inside of the high school areas, there are supporting courses and then Explorer courses. Anytime you take a Explorer course, you're going to be considered a concentrator. Okay, right here it does say concentrator courses. So that's kind of a intermediate level. To be a completer, the student who pursues this would have to take cybersecurity forensics. And again, there are 35 different pathways that you can look at. And this is just gives a student who's curious about maybe going into welding or whatever career, classes that they could look at and putting into their schedule. So it just outlines it right away. Again, students who are completers, high graduation rate, and I think it was 56% of those who focus in CTE go on to, no, actually it was 75%. 75% go on to a post-secondary institution to receive more training, which is good because we want kids to pursue further education. So hopefully, you know, again, I'm rushing through all of this, but this is a key page for you to become familiar with. Go to, you can just type in Utah CTE, and it'll take you to the main page. And as you scroll down here on the hamburger, you'll be able to find, again, career pathways. So there's a lot to CTE. Probably half of the schedule or course offerings in a high school are geared around CTE type classes. Again, 70% of our students don't pursue higher ed right out of high school or go to work. Industry will say, hey, we want to hire you and we think you should take some more training. And so then they'll pay for that additional training, education. And I think that's going to be the new trend now. Instead of just going straight to 4-year college, the kids are looking for jobs that they like, and that employer is going to say, we need to keep you because of the job shortage, lack of skills, and so forth. And then the student will finally find out something that they enjoy. And of course, we want everyone to enjoy what they're pursuing. Okay, so that's the home page for the state of Utah, the Career and Technical Education Program. I think that's where Chuck is housed. He's housed there at the State Board of Education, Utah State Board of Education offices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Let me go back to CTE. Okay. Just a couple more slides here. We talked about CTSOs. That stands for Career and Technical Student Organizations. If you look closely at the logos of each of these organizations, you'll recognize a couple of them. FFA, right? Future Farmers of America. FCCLA, TSA. HOSA is a health organization. And DECA is for like your business type students, marketing. Educators Rising, we're trying to grow our own. The education, you've probably heard in the news, teachers are leaving, retiring, and so we need to encourage kids to pursue education. One thing that I'm passionate about is something here called Skills USA. Skills USA, this is a nationally recognized after-school, all of these are kind of after-school programs. But Skills USA focuses on all of the trades: electrical, construction, welding, woodworking, automotive, auto collision. So many. There's 70 different classes that fit under Skills USA. So towards the end of the school year, well, in February, I'll say that, they have a district competition, so students can showcase their skills and have a competition of building something. And if they win district, they get to go to state competition. And if they win state competition, they get to go to the national competition. And those who usually go to the national level are highly sought after, and scholarships are given out to students, and come join our school, come join our technical school, our trade school. So they're recruited out of their participation at the national level. So I think our students really need to be pursuing some of these CTSOs. Some of you, again, may have heard about these, but I know it's new to several of you as well. The last slide that I have here are just some of my recommendations. We talked about the key terms, college and career readiness. You've heard that term. This is where I'd like for you to work with the student's school counselor. There's nothing that says that you can't advocate for a student. I would go directly to the school counselor. If they're not responsive, then the parent has the weight, and go talk to the parent, have the parent come in and change that student's schedule that fits a career pathway, or a student doesn't like it, then find something that they'll like. And so you can intervene that way, and you can educate the parents that they too really have the say, and they can dictate what the student takes in probably 99% of the cases. We talked about career clusters. Encourage you to become familiar with this, and because these are industry standard terms that they know. Career pathways. I've got the website listed here to explore some more. Remember that a pathway completer requires 3 credits. The pathway concentrator is kind of, I'll say that it's more of an intermediate level type class. And then something that I didn't share earlier, that each school has something called a work-based learning specialist. They're a valuable asset to the CTE world. They help with internships, externships, job interviews, job placement, just a plethora of other things that the WBLs work with. And so I would encourage you to maybe find out who your WBL is in your school and say, hey, I've got a student that's interested in engineering. Is there an engineering fair happening? Is there a field trip? And the work-based learning should have a schedule of all of those kind of pathways. Something new coming to different schools or throughout the state is a new company called U-Science. It's a new student aptitude inventory or survey. And students right now take interest inventories. These are things that are at a young age. They mostly gear towards that age level, right, of their interest in that years of their lives. And so more of them are more like social and more artistic. But what about social? You know, when it comes to becoming a teacher, they just don't have that mental capacity at that point to understand what they may be good at naturally. And so when you say aptitude, it will test their instincts and not so much their interests, but what they're good at. And so youth science will be coming to all schools throughout Utah, and it's a very nice. The results that come out are very informational. I like the new website they have. It's very visual, and it shows you what careers you may want to consider based off of your answers. And it's not an interest inventory. It's something that kind of like the ASVAB that the military uses. That's an aptitude test that says you are officer material, and so let's have you pursue this area. So anyway, and then I think all students should participate in the CTSO. It's something that helps them socially, helps them make new friends, it prepares them for leadership skills, and CTSOs are something that's kind of the best kept secret, I believe. And you know, I presented to the counselors this morning. I was kind of surprised that they had a shocked look on their face, you know. So I said, tell me what CTSOs are, and they just like, oh, I don't know what that is. And so, as I mentioned, the national organizations, they were a little more familiar, but they don't know the true value of it. So I'm kind of pushing this after-school program that most schools should have. That's my presentation. I know it was quick, but does anybody have any questions? Either put everybody to sleep or everybody learn. One of those two things.
I have a question,
Turn
if
on
that's okay.
Turn on the
Yeah.
video. Turn on the camera.
I wanted to ask, do you have any data statistically telling us when the best time is to get to kids to educate them about CTE careers? I mean, is it better to start them in junior high, the first year of high school? Like, when do you get the most success in getting kids to really enter the pathways?
So there's an effort now of introducing kids to careers in the elementary age. Yeah, you can't ask an elementary kid, you know, what career do you want to pursue? It'll be something generic, but we're trying to share these key terms with them at that age. We're putting up bulletin boards, we're doing small presentations. They go in and have activities for classes. And so they're trying to introduce it at an elementary age. At a junior high age, there's actually a class called CTE Awareness. And it's taught to 7th graders or 8th graders, depending on how the district lines that up. So they're trying to also prepare kids for now the big world of high school, where now there's 60 different classes to choose from and 35 pathways, and that's all overwhelming to kids. So that's why I think youth science with this aptitude really help counselors and parents and the student kind of guide them in that direction. And so there is an effort from the elementary level, middle school, and high school levels that we're trying to prepare kids for careers. So right now, the way it's been is give them an interest inventory. And, oh, you want to be a social worker? Okay, let's pursue social worker when they don't like to, you know, be in front of people and talk to people. So I'm excited about the new youth science aptitude test.
Mario?
Yes.
Can I add something to that? As a former school counselor myself, this is Derek Franklin. What counselors typically did at the high school level is they would make presentations to 7th and 8th graders in regards to what classes are offered, what career pathway they want to take, if they want to move into a technical age type classroom. We would give these presentations to the 7th and 8th graders to get them ready to see what their interests are and things like that, and kind of go over a 4-year plan, to get them to graduate, to be college and career ready. So just to help you out a little, Mario, I know we're both counselors, so just thought I'd help out.
Yes, there's efforts on all levels. School counselors are a big part of that.
Mhm.
If there's no questions. I kind of got to get someplace by 11, so I'm sorry. But you've got my contact information there. I'd love to help out. If you need some material, some suggestions, I'm all about CTE. I love that. And so hopefully, basically what I want to be really to Title VI is a resource. I'm familiar with the Title VI program. I helped out a lot here at Granite District. And so all the good work that you guys do from elementary through high schools is commendable. So keep up the good work. All right. Thank you for allowing me to present.
Hey, thanks, Mario. I think there's some really, really good information, especially the thing I like about that whole setup is that they're updated information on the careers. You know, way back in the day, you know, we only had 2 or 3 and it was just kind of funneled. And today you have more than what you say, more than 50, you know, startup programs. And I think it gives the students experiences, especially at the high school level. Because back in the day, you know, you only got the experience was after you graduated from high school and you get you sign up for a job. And I think the last thing for me, which is really important, is that it's a self-confidence builder. Because I think that, you know, jobs like this or the opportunities like this, it builds that character, builds that confidence, and it builds the self-worth for these students. So thank you. Yeah.
One of the most exciting things is that when parents come to the high school, I like to take them on tours and show them the new shop equipment, show them the latest and greatest software, and they're just always blown away. Like, wow, I wish I had that in high school.
Yeah.
Kids can now fly airplanes in high school. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Mario.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda is Sheila Young and Jenna Bradford from the Molina Healthcare of Utah. You know, about a month ago, a little over, I got an opportunity to talk with Sheila and Jenna, and our common, I guess, conversation at that time was the Warm Coat Project. But you know, today I think she's going to give a little different take on the healthcare. So I'll let Sheila and Jenna introduce themselves, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Dr. Foster, and thanks for having us today. Good morning, everybody. We did get connected with Dr. Foster not too long ago, and we're able to share some information about Molina Healthcare. We're really excited to be able to do this presentation today. Jana and I are fairly new to the community engagement team here at Molina. I've been with Molina Healthcare for over 10 years. I'm a registered nurse by trade and used to manage or direct the care management team, but have recently stepped into this community engagement role. One of my goals right out the gate is to get us sort of out of the office and on the road and out into the rural and remote areas where people may not be aware of the Molina products and services that we offer, and really to make sure that some of the underserved populations have access to healthcare. That at the end of the day, that's what's important to us. We also have some programs that we run through our community engagement team. We're fortunate to be able to represent our Molina Cares Accord, which is a foundation that was started last year. And that's kind of where we talked with Dr. Foster about the coat and shoe program that we partnered up with Operation Warm to bring new coats and shoes to kids in need. So that's one facet of the work that we do. But in the interest of time, I'm going to hand it over to Jana to walk through who Molina Healthcare is, what we do, what we offer, and then we'd really love an opportunity to meet with the coordinators individually and see what we can do to come on site out into some of the rural and remote schools. We do partner with a sister or navigator organizations that can help people to connect to healthcare insurance, which, you know, really in order to be you know, at your healthiest, to be able to have health insurance and be able to get the preventive screenings for the kids is key. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Jana.
Thank you, Sheila. Can you guys hear me okay? Usually muted. Awesome. Thanks. Again,
Yes.
my name is Jana Bradford. I am the manager of the member and community engagement team here at Molina Healthcare. I, along with Sheila, came from the case management department and have been working at Molina for close to 6 years now. Just a little background about Molina Healthcare. It was founded in 1980 by Dr. David C. Molina, who was working as an emergency room physician. And he was seeing all sorts of people coming through, you know, utilizing the emergency room for just basic care needs. And this is because they're either uninsured, didn't have money, and was not receiving the care that they needed. And so what he did is he decided to open up a clinic and cared for people regardless of their ability to pay, or regardless of their circumstances. And so his mission was to provide quality health care to those in need, regardless of their circumstances. Apologies, my slide isn't working. There we go. We're a Fortune 500 multi-state healthcare organization. We're located in 18 states across the country. We've been, again, providing quality health care for over 40 years. I believe it's 25 years here in Utah. And our thing is, we really just believe everyone should have access to quality health care. Molina Healthcare contracts with state government and serves as a health plan, providing a wide range of quality health care services to families and individuals who qualify for government-sponsored programs. Here's our mission, vision, and values. You know, our mission is to improve the health and lives of our members by delivering high quality health care. Our products and value-added services. So our products are Medicaid and CHIP, as well as Marketplace. And then we have the D-SNP, which is your Medicaid and Medicare combined plan, as well as just a Medicare plan. On the slide, it'll show the counties in which we cover. What makes us stand out? A fun fact, Molina Healthcare is the only non-hospital owned Medicaid insurer. There are 4 plans. When somebody signs up for Medicaid, once you're approved for Medicaid, you then get the option to choose which health plan will cover your Medicaid. Molina being one of those choices, as well as the University of Utah Health Plans, Select Health, and HCA. So with us being the only non-hospital owned health plan, this has allowed us to contract with the other health plans, providers. So our provider system, we have all of the Mountain Star HCA providers, as well as Steward Healthcare and the University of Utah, full providers, PCPs, as well as hospitals. And then we also have the hospital systems for Intermountain Healthcare. We do have some of their PCPs, but it is varied. So it's important then when talking to people about, you know, a plan that works for them, you want to check and make sure you can check our provider online directory and make sure that their doctors are in network. Value added services for our plan. We have a 24/7 nurse advice line. As well as free teledoc visits for our members, different member initiatives, and this would be for members who complete specific annual exams, checkups such as your well child visits and your yearly exams. And then starting March 1st, we're also going to have a program where we're going to be able to give our members on Medicaid a free smartphone with data and text messaging as well. So this is a great value added benefit for our members, and we are excited to get that started. Why choose Molina? Again, over 40 years of caring for the underserved populations. We have a very broad hospital and provider network, our quality incentives and value-added services, And then also our exceptional care management team to coordinate your care. So anyone on our plan could have a case manager or a care manager that could coordinate all your care with you, go over some health goals, and really keep you on track to being healthy. We also have our rich supplemental benefits packages for both our DSNP plan and our HMO plan, and then the 24/7 nurse advice line and the teledoc services as well. And again, those teledoc services are free. So community engagement. Our team, we've got a small team, Sheila being our AVP, myself as the manager, and then we have a couple specialists that are out in the community working boots on the ground, as well as our communication specialist and our administrative assistant. So we've got a great team. Our community engagement team, our goal really is to be out into the community, seeing and finding the disparities that people run into with healthcare and trying to bridge some of those gaps. Like Sheila had mentioned before, we've been able to provide new shoes and coats to underserved children. We've done book nooks. We've donated books for mobile vision clinics. So when kids get their examinations, they're able to get, their glasses and then pick out a new book. Food insecurities and holiday giving. Back to school events are big for us. We do a lot of health fairs, and really our goal is we meet with community-based partners, 501c3 organizations, and find out the services that they're offering. And then when we're out meeting with the community, we share these resources. We want to make sure that people are aware of the services that are out there to help them. So not only, are we representing Molina Healthcare, but we genuinely take that information and the resources that we find and we share them to let people know that there is help out there for them.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Do you serve undocumented families also?
Sheila, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, out in the community, we would definitely help to connect them with community-based services. Like, let's say that we're in an event and they come up to our table and they want, to be connected to some other services within the community. We can absolutely help them. There are folks that, although they may be undocumented, if they have citizenship, then they could be eligible for Medicaid. Also, they may themselves not be eligible for Medicaid, but they might have children that are eligible for Medicaid. And so those members would be on our health plan, and we would be able to help coordinate their medical care. But if they're not a member of our health plan, and they come to our table looking just to connect to some services, or let's say that they don't know whether they are eligible for Medicaid, then we could connect them to a navigator, like Take Care Utah, who could, plug in their information into the system and see what they would be eligible for.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, and I want to add to that. We also work with other agencies, like Sheila had mentioned, Take Care Utah and Alliance Association, but we've got these partners that, some of them specifically work with, say, the Hispanic population. There's a lot of hesitancy amongst the undocumented to even ask questions. So we really like to be a liaison, with our partners and let people, let the people know that they're okay to ask the questions, and we send them to somebody that would be able to specifically kind of be able to guide them through that transition. So again, it's sharing the resources that we find out in the community and letting people know where they're able to go to get that help. We here at Molina, we're not allowed to sign people up for Medicaid. So anybody, needing help with that, we always refer on to those assister or navigator programs so that they get a really good understanding of the different benefits that they would be eligible for. So onto this slide, Sheila had mentioned earlier our Molina Cares Accord. So this is new to us. In 2020, Molina Healthcare established the Molina Cares Accord, which oversees community investments via a charitable foundation created to improve the health and well-being of disadvantaged populations by funding meaningful, measurable, and innovative programs and solutions that improve health, life, and living in our local communities. So it's really cool. In 2021, I guess it was, we were able to donate over $100,000 in charitable giving. And this was done through coats and shoes, Gosh, we did a big donation down in Iron County to the 4-H club down there, and their after school programs. I think our largest donation, we did mostly coats and shoes, but our next largest donation was to the Other Side Villages. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but they're going to be building tiny homes for chronically homeless people and building this community. And so it was just we're very passionate about, really hitting these areas of underserved. And look, we also, with the Accord, we've got a local chapter here in Utah, and our team were able to make recommendations to that chapter when we find or learn of opportunities to do charitable giving. And so when we donate our coats or the shoes, we take it to our foundation and get that approved. We work a lot with the Title I schools. The Granite District was a big one. We're throughout the entire state, so we've done a lot of work up in the Weber, Davis, Salt Lake County, Utah County, and then Sheila had mentioned earlier, we're really, really interested on getting out into our more rural and remote areas and seeing how we can bridge some of those gaps out there as well. Do you guys have any questions?
Janet, oh, there we go. Great. We did distribute this PowerPoint to Renee, and so hopefully that can be shared with everybody on the call, but you can use the QR code there to get more information about Molina Healthcare and the products that we have.
Absolutely. And if anyone is ever interested or you come across groups that need benefit specific training, we're welcome to get that arranged as well for, the specific lines of business that we offer. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And also thank you, Dr. Foster, for inviting us to, share information about Molina. The other presenters were wonderful. I really enjoyed hearing the stories. Some really great information today. So thanks again for having us.
Oh, thank you, both of you. I think this is a very good information that we all need. I think healthcare is one of those. I just had a question in terms of the services that, the association that you have, is there a fee attached to that where they become an active person in the healthcare programs?
Is there a fee? Can you repeat?
Like a fee, if there's, exchange of currency or.
Let me jump in here, Jana. So basically, as Jana mentioned, we can't sign people up for Medicaid, but when people are Medicaid eligible, then they can choose one of the ACOs as their Medicaid provider. Okay. So it's really through Department of Workforce Services that eligibility is identified, and there could be, depending on their income and their eligibility, they may have no cost at all for their healthcare. If their income's a little bit higher, then they could have like what's called a spend down, where they would have to pay out a certain amount of money for their benefit to kick in. Same thing with Marketplace. It's, you go on to the government website to apply for Marketplace, and depending on where your income, you could have a premium. It's just really dependent on your income, but all of that eligibility determination is done through Department of Workforce Services, and those premiums, if there are any, are assigned through that process.
Okay, all right. Sounds great. Thank you. Are there any questions out there? If not, hey, Sheila and Jana, thank you for the opportunity to partake of your presentation. I think this is a very valuable part in terms of lifestyle, I think. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Let's go down to the Title VI updates now. And Renee, could you bring up the ESSA plan and confirmation information that I sent out the other day?
Dr. Foster? Dr. Foster?
Yes.
Charlene was presenting presenting for the ethnic studies, and I told her 10:30, sorry, and she's kind of needs to leave. Can she do something?
Oh, you want to go first? Charlene?
Charlene and Dr. and so
Okay,
Charlene,
let's, since you guys are in a really heavy schedule, Charlene and your colleague, let's go with you first. We do have the ethics studies update. And Charlene and who is it, Curtis?
Yes.
Are pretty much heavily involved in this process. So just give us some update, and then, hey, Charlene, it's good to see you again.
Yes, it's good to see all my friends. Oh my goodness.
Hey, you must have a good screen because I can't see any of these guys.
Oh, yes. Well, it was really excited when Jeannie said, can somebody come and present? I said, oh yes, I'd love to. Good excuse to come back since you don't invite me, Chuck. No.
Hey, now we have your email address. I'm going to put you down as a member of the of our group now.
Well, thank you. And once again, it is so good to see all of you. I know it's been a trying time with the school year and everything else, but and I'm excited to be, some of you are new, you may not know me. I'm recently retired from Granite School District, but I was heavily involved with the Title VI Indian Education Program for multiple years, I think over 20 something years. And with me today is my esteemed colleague, Curtis Linton. Some of you have known him. Curtis is a native here of Utah. Is that correct, Curtis? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. And I met Curtis through the work that he did with a company and he can tell you more about that later on. But more importantly, some of us have read the book, Courageous Conversations About Race, and he was a co-author with that. Thank you again for allowing both of us to be on this, and just to briefly share, I'll say briefly share about the Utah Ethnic Studies bill that we're hoping. I don't think it's been numbered yet though, but Curtis can fill us in on that later. So Curtis, can you put the screen up or yes. Share? We do have a handout that we're hoping that all of you will be able to share with your colleagues. For those of us, like, I don't know if Eileen is still on. She said she had to leave by 11, but Eileen, Jeannie, some of us who have been here for a while, the older folks, we've been involved in curriculum with our Title VI Indian Ed program for, over the decades. And so once again, though, we're really hoping to make it more institutionalized and to, more importantly, integrate it throughout every single year when it comes to our American Indian, Native American history. And so we're really excited to bring to you an effort that Dr. Kathleen Christie and Dr. Jackie Thompson have started. It's been going on for over a year now, and we're really seeing some push right now in the legislature on Utah Ethnic Studies. Utah Ethnic Studies incorporates the history and contributions of ethnic and minority communities into the building of our country throughout K-12 instruction. The Ethnic Studies Coalition includes parents, educators, policymakers, and researchers advocating to incorporate ethnic studies into the Utah state standards for K-12 students. And as you continue on down here, I'm not going to read all of these bullet points, but the first couple of them, I think, are the first three I do want to share with you, though, because these are some things that I think we've all worked on over the years to honor the heritage and hard work of our historic and modern day people by teaching the stories of all who call Utah home. Secondly, it strengthens the skills of Utah students so they can serve and work successfully within Utah, the United States, and abroad. And then to implement that criteria of the Utah State Board of Education Portrait of a Graduate. And so we know that how important it is from our standpoint of, and to give honor to Howard Rayner, who recently passed away. Remember the times that we were always together with him, looking at how do we integrate culture and language and our heritage in teaching our children to be to stand tall. Remember the initiative that we used to have before. But once again, I really feel that this is very important for all of us, and we really need your help in spreading the word about this. So please, we ask you to support ethnic studies. And so once again, Renee, hopefully you have the handout. If not, we'll make sure you have that, or Jeannie has access to it, that she can get it out to everybody as well. But Curtis, do you want to share with everybody how they could get involved with this and how it's going to impact them and their families?
Yeah, thank you all for letting us be here today. It's a really excellent working group that's been pushing for ethnic studies. And remarkably, we've had great progress with members of the legislature, even with some of the other educational bills that have been proposed this year. We've got good sponsorship, including legislative leadership behind this. But the most important thing that all of you can do for us is to reach out to your elected legislators, both those who represent the district that you might live in, or those who you have any type of a personal relationship with, and encourage them to support the ethnic studies bill. Currently, the sponsor is Senator Kirk Collimore, and we were supposed to get a number on this week. It's possible that it's happened. We just haven't had the update. But nonetheless, on the Hill, it is known as the ethnic studies bill. And so please reach out to your legislators. The power of ethnic studies, I mean, what an incredible group to meet with today. You understand the impact of this better than anyone in the state. And fundamentally, we believe that ethnic studies is needed for all students within Utah, both so that those students who traditionally have not seen their stories in the curriculum, they get to see themselves, their family, their communities represented within the curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade, but also students like myself who received an overabundance of my story in the curriculum when I went through Utah schools. I need to learn the stories of the other communities that make up Utah. And so, we strongly believe, and this is all based on research, that when ethnic studies is incorporated into the K-12 curriculum, every single one of our students benefits from this. So please reach out to your legislature and just encourage them to support ethnic studies.
Thank you, Curtis. And so once again, thank you for the opportunity for us to share this. Now, Jeannie Groves has been very instrumental and very active on this committee as well. So Jeannie, we ask that you keep in touch with all of our dear friends with the Title VI Indian Education program. And several of us, remember when we went to our NIEA conferences, and locally we've had Meredith Schramm introducing that piece of curriculum, or the work that she's been working on. And once again, this would be a really good way to also include and make it more institutional or systemic, to have some of those things that we've all been working on with Meredith included. So once again, and this will be something that Dr. Foster, once this will get approved, there's a lot of momentum. Curtis, I think you would agree with me based on what we've heard, that it has a really good chance of being approved. And so once again, I'm sure they will depend on the Title VI Indian Education coordinators under Dr. Foster's leadership to be involved in this. So thank you again, and be well, friends. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Charlene.
Thanks, Charlene and Curtis.
And thank you for your colleague also.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Welcome. All right, bye.
And the information you're going to get, I noticed that Renee says that she received it, so she'll send all that stuff out too. So,
okay.
Dr. Foster?
Yes, sir.
I just want to mention to Charlene and Curtis, for tribal support, we can present this information to the president of the Navajo Nation for support of this bill. What usually needs what we'd like to ask is like a draft letter of support where it can be incorporated in terms of the Navajo Nation's position, and then we can send that to the Hill in Utah. So just an FYI.
Excellent.
But we would need a sample letter of support.
Okay.
Hey, what I'll do is let me get his email address, and I'll send it to Charlene. And so you'll have his email address. That's Derek Franklin, who's a representative from the Navajo tribe from the president's office. So
Thank you.
It's a very, very strong link there. So
that'd be great, because that'll be good to have the what is it, the caucus there, and the group. Yeah, to have that all of that support. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that.
Yep.
And as soon as we get off, I'll do all of that and send it to you, Charlene and Curtis, and you can share with Curtis. I don't think I have his email address, so.
I think Renee does, but that's okay. If you'll send it to me, I'll get it to Curtis and we'll get working on it really quick.
Okay,
Yep.
appreciate that. Hey, thanks. You guys stay safe.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's get back to the updates on the Title VI as well as the Urban Indian Center. I do have two handouts that I sent everybody. One is the ESSA plan, which is on the screen now. And I'm going to have Renee just kind of scroll down real slow and walk through the process. Now, this was developed by all the Title VI coordinators about 2017. And we put the language and the project together. You know, it covered basically some information that would give us an opportunity to see. Number two is that this was required by the ESSA, the program that was established from the Department of Education. This needed to be a piece of that. And the third is that this has also been sent to the Office of Indian Education in Washington, D.C. And I sent this information out to everybody, so I hopefully that you guys had a chance to read that. But the last pages, well, let's move up a little bit more where I could, right there, that stop right there. It's the tribal consultation. That's the information that's really, really important for those people who meet the threshold of receiving $40,000 from the Office of Indian Education. And the other criteria is that they have more than 50% of their student population are American Indians and Alaska Natives. So I'll talk a little bit about that. If you could scroll down a little bit more, Renee. And this is this information here, all in black. It's with the timely consultation. Keep going. Meaningful consultation. And then we get to the most important part here, which is coming up, which is the appendices. You know, what you see in red is the most important in terms of showcasing your program to the tribe during the consultation. If you were to go back to the plan, you find that there's a section in the plan that indicates that the strengthening tribal assurance, and go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. And there were 3 sections to that. Here's number B, is creating and strengthening education programs. You know, there's one thing that we saw that was just disclosed just a few minutes ago is that the CTE, we probably can include that in our next upgrade or our next update. And the last piece to this is, let's see here. Okay, the last piece here is the funding provided for the American Alaska Native students. So that's the information that, first of all, you review that. Once you review that, you have a pretty good idea of how your approach is going to be to showcase your program during the tribal consultation. Now, let's go to the tribal consultation affirmation paper. Renee. And I sent this out, and that affirmation paper or affirmation document is just a document that indicates that you've met with one of the local tribes. And again, not all Title VI sites have that requirement. And then here's the requirement. That's information that you had that tribal consultation affirmation, and you fill out all the information here. You also, I believe that here you also put down the address and the tribe that you have had the consultation with. Move down a little bit farther, and now you have the law here in terms of that. Scroll down a little bit farther down. Can you scroll down a little bit more, Renee? Okay, right there. Yeah. See, this is the information that's strengthening tribal assurance. If you remember, that was put in red within the ESSA plan. And basically, it's just the information that you shared with the tribe. Those are the markings and any comments that you like to make. And, you know, I've seen where when we had that consultation last year that all the boxes were marked. And, you know, there are a few that they marked 2 or 3, but not all of them. But, you know, again, that's up to the Title VI sites that are going to have that consultation. And then down at the bottom, what you're going to do is you are going to work. You are going to put the information as far as the signatures. You know, the signatures from the person that you had consultation with. You've gone a little bit too far, Renee. Let's go back up a little bit more. The consultation that you had consultation with. So you need that certification or that signature. Stop right there. And those are the signatures from the tribal representative as well as the LEA that you represent. Now, you know, there are 2 ways. This is optional for you. When you submit your formula grant application, you can attach this to the formula grant application, or you can keep this for your records because they may come back and ask if you did have consultation with one of the local tribes, and this will indicate that you have. So this is a very good piece of information that you all need. So. The other one is I sent information out to everybody that meet that criteria, and I only heard back from 3. So I assume that the other sites that did not report back to me that you are arranging your own tribal consultation. And I needed that information by today because on Monday I'm going to start that arranging the date and time in the local tribe that I have in mind that we can work with. Okay. Are there any questions?
Is it the same form as last time, Dr. Foster, or do we need to download the new one from the email you sent us?
This is just an updated documentation, the updated confirmation.
Okay.
It was the same thing last year. You know, I just changed a few words, but you know, it's basically the same. It's the same rationale, the same thing.
But you did make changes, so we need to download it.
Then the other is the ESSA plan. That's the ESSA plan was that we upgraded that last year in 2021, and we had an opportunity to have this virtual meeting and just updated information that kind of keeps an update on that. And if you look at that ESSA plan, you find that there are 2 dates on that. It's 2017 and 2021. The 2021 is an update from last year. So, okay. Any other questions? Eddie? Hey, Eddie, I see your name or your hands raised.
I don't know how that happened, but I don't have any questions. Sorry.
Fell asleep on your keyboard, huh?
Dr. Foster?
Yes, sir.
This is Derek Franklin again from Navajo Nation. For school districts needing to meet with Navajo Nation, I did put the information in the chat. We do have an assigned person with the Department of Education under the Navajo Nation. His name is Dr. Andy Naz. He handles all the tribal consultation for the Navajo Nation. I believe he's met with the superintendent of San Juan School District.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's met with other districts. I believe Sevier School District is one of the other districts that they have met with. But in terms of the other districts, I'm not sure if he's met with them, but he would be the go-to person. Okay. Again, his name is Dr. Andy Naz. and I put his email in the chat. It's
Okay.
Andy Naz, lowercase ANDYNEZ at NNDODE.org.
Okay.
And I also put my email in the chat as well.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Now,
Dr. Foster,
yes.
this is Sarai. Do we have to tell you which tribe we're meeting with, or?
No, we have that in mind right now. We're going to meet with the Goshu tribe, as we did the last 2-3 years. But if you decide to go with another tribe, let me know and I can arrange that for you.
Well, I already got together with the Northwestern Band of Shoshone, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Yeah. So I think, this is just to make it clear that you guys, that the sites that are meeting that threshold, if you have a tribe that is close to your LEA, my suggestion is that you make contact. Let me give you an example. With the Davis, with the Shoshone tribe, with the Box Elder, Logan and Cash, they usually have that consultation with the Shoshone tribe. Duchesne and Uinta usually have that consultation with the Ute tribe. And out at Tooele, usually in a lot of the schools here in the inner city, we'll meet with the Goshu tribe, and then we go a little farther south with Mike Grisenti in the Washington school districts. Within the last couple of years, they've been meeting with the Paiute tribe, and the only tribe that's a little bit different is the San Juan. They've been meeting with the Navajo tribe, and I think Brenda is pretty well aware of that. So that's basically where the lay of the land is. And I just need that information today. And if you're meeting like Brenda, you're meeting with the Navajo tribe, that's for me, that's common knowledge that I put that down as in my records.
So we had our meeting already, like
yeah. Okay.
What was said, like in the fall, and then I just sent that form that you sent me to Andy to see if he would fill that out. And then we had another virtual site visit 2 weeks ago by Rita Jones-Claw. So I sent her an email as well.
Okay, very good. So that information, just keep it in order, because that's an important document for the Office of Indian Education in DC to know. Okay. Now the third, on number 6C, I did make a request for the purchase of food, and hopefully I'll hear back early and late next week. And again, you do have funding through Utah grants, and I know that some of your sites were holding back on some of the funding because this was anticipated that we like to purchase some food with the Utah grant information, or the Utah grant that I allowed from my office. But I'll keep you updated on that as soon as I hear. Then I'll send the information out, and then you guys can start to put that little, I guess, your celebration together with a meal. Any questions on that? Okay, the last is the Urban Indian Center updates, and I have Penelope, if you could, and Avina, if you guys could do that for us.
Good morning. This is Penelope. We're still providing vaccinations for those who are over the age of 5. And so clients are still able to contact us, schedule an appointment, but also if you're interested, or if parents are questioning about the vaccination, they can always call our center. Another thing too is that we are providing diabetes prevention and diabetes management classes here at the center. They can also call Christy Hinton. She's our diabetes dietitian facilitator for that program. Another one is the Red Mesa Behavioral Health they are providing suicide prevention trainings. And so district coordinators, they can contact me to schedule a training for your parents and or teens. That is something that we can provide virtually and or on site. And lastly, Sacred Paths Family Programs, we're still providing virtual culture classes for those for K through 12th grade. But another thing too is that, excuse me, Sacred Paths, we can provide presentations for tobacco prevention. And one of the opportunities is that I inform parents on how to talk to their kids about vaping, preventing vaping for their kids. And so this is something that it's just beginning the conversation and understanding that they're seeing it in schools and or in stores too. And so that's something that we can provide the districts. And lastly, be sure to download our newsletter. Our newsletter offers all our information and our past events. So I don't know if Ivana has any updates, but that's UIC in a nutshell. I know everyone has to get going, but uicsl.org, you can download that newsletter. That's it for me, Dr. Foster. If anyone has any questions, they can always email me, but I'll always send Dr. Foster our flyers so you can distribute to clients.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that so we have the last part there. Are there any questions or comments that anybody would like to make before I adjourn today? Okay, if not,
I learned a lot.
Oh, you bet.
Dr. Foster, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
This is Brenda. So my question is, like, for the grants that we're doing on Utah grants, are you saying that we can use, like, I've already turned in my grant, but are you saying that we might be able to use some of that for food?
Yes. As soon as I get that word, because I sent that request up, Max was online today. He was in the chat, or he was with us today, and he'll send it to his supervisor. The supervisor, eventually it'll get to the deputy superintendent, and she'll sign that and give it back to me. And then soon after that, I'll send it out that it's all a go.
Okay.
She might put a cap on it. We don't want to spend like $3,000 on food now.
Yeah, so will we just need to revise what we put?
We need the 3,000 for food.
Will we just have to revise it then, or how would that work, since we didn't put that in our plans for some of us?
Well, I think through Utah grants, some of them have held back some of their funding on that, and I think the last 3 years ago we had this request, and they asked that we stay below. I believe it was $800 for food, and it worked out for everybody. Not everybody, they don't spend all the $800 that to spend it on, So it's I'm pretty sure that she'll put a comment or two on that, and as soon as I get that, I'll send that stuff out.
Yeah, that's great news. So we can have for professional development meetings.
Well, it's a cultural thing for us, It's something that really deals with culture, and it helps.
Fry bread.
Is it just for the honoring ceremony, Dr. Foster?
Excuse me?
It would be only just for the honoring ceremony, not for like parent meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah, just for the honoring ceremony at the end of the year. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Dr. Foster, is there no chance that we might use those funds for food for other events? I mean,
no, it's only the only request I had was that it's for the honoring celebration at the end of the year, because I wrote a large paragraph in terms of this is at the end of the year celebration. Some of the seniors are going on to higher ed, and some of the seniors are first generation, and they're looking toward their future. And some of the lower grades are recognizing the seniors and what they go through. And that celebration it's something that we like to celebrate to bring in the families. So it's only for the at the end of the year celebration.
And is this, I'm sorry, are we doing the honoring ceremony inter-district, or is this everyone's personal honoring ceremony?
It's all personal.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, are there any other, these are good questions. Okay. Well, if there's no other comments or questions, I'd like to adjourn, and our next meeting is March the 18th, 2022. I think we all have a 3-day weekend. You guys stay safe, and we'll see you whenever we see you again. Hey, thanks again for your attendance.
Thank you, Dr. Foster.
Thanks. Hey, Eddie. Eddie, are you still on?
I'm right here.
Okay, Eddie. I sent you an email this morning, you and Kevin. I think you have to take care of business with that Utah grants. And the deadline they gave me yesterday was today at 5 o'clock.
All right, I'll check with Kevin if I can get a hold of him.
Okay. I think one of the suggestions I may give you is that books for your elementary school, just look at some of the books that are out there. I think I sent some information out there a couple days ago, and these were American Indian books with American Indian authors and publishers.
All right,
okay.
And
okay. If there's no other comments, hey, I'd like to thank you guys again, everybody. And
hey, Dr. Foster, sorry again.
Yes.
You were saying that you had a list of Native books.
Yeah, I sent that out a couple days ago.
Oh, you did? Do you mind
did.
sending it to me again?
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it, but yeah, since I'm doing that library for mine, I would like to review that list.
Okay, I'll send it out.
Dr. Foster, this is
Yes.
Thomasia. I would also like that list if you wouldn't mind sharing it with me.
The books?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just send it all out to everybody again.
Thank you, Dr.
Perfect.
Foster.
Oh, you bet.
Thank you.
All right.
Dr. Foster, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The proposal, is that all have to be due by 5, like what we're doing with it? Or do you just want us to say yes or no?
Well, I think you need to submit that today. It gives you very, very general information. It says the supplies, you put an amount, you put travel, a certain amount. If you put miscellaneous, put a certain amount. If you have guest speakers, put a certain amount. That's basically all you need. That's very, very general there. And send that to USBE or through the Utah grants. And because I really don't know, I don't know what they're going to do. They've asked me a number of times to get everybody to fill in to apply for the application. So just do what you can.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I thank you guys, and we'll see you when we see you. Hey, thanks again. Be safe, everybody.